said, just read it, because I was looking for movies that could be commercial and speak to the human experience.
We always tease each other. He was, after I gave birth, he was like, oh my gosh, if I lost you and I, went to the park with our 3 kids, I mean, think of the ladies I can. This is a horrible thing to.
Did Blake Lively just get caught twisting the truth under oath? Stunning new revelations have surfaced in her $400 million courtroom clash with Justin Baldoni, and they could completely change the direction of this high-stakes battle. What started as a promising collaboration on the film version of a beloved novel has now unraveled into one of Hollywood's most closely watched legal fights. The case is stacked with shocking allegations, private conversations making their way into the public eye, and growing speculation that there's far more happening behind closed doors than anyone realized. How did a picture-perfect partnership disintegrate this quickly? And more importantly, could these developments permanently damage the polished public image Blake has spent years building? Stick around, because what's unfolding here is only the opening act of a much bigger storm.
It's a bit of a tough adjustment in our house, but it's good. I mean, I have 2 other daughters, so my oldest is very into the baby, but my middle child, not so much, but we're thinking of keeping her.
Yeah. Does she play with her? What does she think?
Well, she sort of pretends to play with her. So in the beginning, our oldest is loving on her and she's very maternal. And then our middle daughter is just just.
What started as a project rooted in shared ambition quickly drew Hollywood's attention. Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni teamed up to bring a best-selling novel to life, a story celebrated for its emotional depth and themes of transformation. On paper, it was the perfect match, Baldoni's reputation for intimate, heartfelt directing paired with Lively's proven star power. The buzz grew even louder when reports surfaced that Ryan Reynolds, though not officially attached, was quietly lending his perspective. Insiders whispered that his signature knack for blending warmth with wit was subtly shaping the film's creative direction. The start, everything looked like a recipe for success. Both stars spoke openly about their commitment to honoring the novel's spirit while also tailoring it for a modern audience. The excitement was palpable, fans eagerly awaiting what seemed destined to become a powerful and moving film. Yet, behind the smiles and polished interviews, the cracks were already forming. Creative disagreements crept in, egos collided, and the weight of expectation intensified. Slowly but surely, the dream partnership soured, setting the stage for the public feud and courtroom drama that would follow.
I'm honored, and I'm also more honored that because, what we're talking about is so important and so meaningful, that we're able to have this much anticipation, and so many people want to go see it and are talking about it. That's what I'm grateful for.
And you had a key part in bringing it to the big screen. How did this all come to be?
Well, in 2019, I read the book. I was sent the book by my book agent and friend at the time, and I was looking for films that could inspire, that were commercially viable, but also could really reach in and touch.
The early glow surrounding the project dimmed almost as quickly as it had appeared. Beneath the polished press statements, stark creative rifts between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni were widening, and the cracks in their partnership became impossible to ignore. Baldoni remained steadfast in his mission, to protect the novel's raw spirit, to give audiences an unflinching look at its heavier themes of pain, growth, and resilience. His vision was stripped down, authentic, and faithful to the author's original voice. Lively, however, envisioned something entirely different. She pushed for a stylish update, sleek visuals, elevated wardrobes, and a tone that could weave in lighter moments to broaden the film's reach. To her, this wasn't just about telling a story, it was about elevating it into a cinematic experience that would resonate across demographics. But where she saw opportunity, Baldoni saw compromise. He reportedly worried her approach would water down the very heart of the book, turning what was meant to be deeply human into something glossy and shallow. That clash of perspectives quickly bred personal tension. Lively felt overlooked and dismissed, her creative instincts consistently sidelined. Baldoni, on the other hand, grew increasingly frustrated with what he saw as an erosion of the story's core message. What began as creative debates soon spiraled into pointed confrontations, with disputes over even minor details, character motivations, costuming, even the balance of humor and tragedy sparking heated arguments. The set, once a stage for collaboration, now felt more like a battleground. And neither star realized that these early disputes were only the prelude to a much larger war, one that would soon explode far beyond the studio walls.
The way that I get into a character is through their style. So it was more about who Lily is that was so fascinating to me, is that she's a walking, talking contradiction.
Blake Lively insisted her input was repeatedly brushed aside, her creative voice minimized throughout the process. But Justin Baldoni wasn't about to let that narrative stand unchallenged. In a dramatic move, he filed a $400 million defamation lawsuit, claiming Lively had intentionally mischaracterized their collaboration. His legal team came prepared, armed with text threads, production notes, and internal records that they argued painted a very different picture, one where Lively was not only involved, but actively shaping decisions she later criticized. For Baldoni, this wasn't just about correcting the record. He believed her statements were damaging his credibility, undermining years of professional reputation, and jeopardizing the financial future of the entire film. At first, observers chalked it up to Hollywood egos clashing, another high-profile battle fueled by star power, money, and creative control. But then came a twist that shifted everything. Industry whispers pointed to fresh evidence, private conversations, sealed documents, and confidential exchanges that allegedly contradicted parts of Lively's sworn testimony. Suddenly, what began as a creative dispute had transformed into a courtroom showdown with far higher stakes, a fight over honesty, integrity, and the very survival of reputations on both sides.
A lot of it's my real life clothes, or my husband's clothes, or my girlfriend Gigi's clothes. I was borrowing some.
Wait, that's kind of amazing. So you have something of Gigi's in the movie.
Yeah, it's like a wedding, like something old, something borrowed, something blue, something new.
Wait, which one? Now I want to think of the scene.
Oh, I'm wearing her stuff all over it.
Oh, really?
And tons of like Bodhi, which is with the suit now that I'm wearing is Bodhi. It was meant for my husband, but I borrowed it.
His suit?
It was meant for him to wear, but it's so pretty. Look at it. You guys are not getting it in the shot.
The lawsuit took a dramatic turn when whispers of newly unearthed evidence rippled through Hollywood's inner circles. Industry insiders claimed a trove of private emails, texts, and behind-the-scenes exchanges had surfaced, many of which reportedly clashed with Blake Lively's sworn testimony. These communications, according to sources, painted a very different version of events. Instead of pushing back against humor and elaborate costumes, the messages suggested she was fully on board with them. One conversation even appeared to show her joking about plot points she now criticizes as weakening the story's emotional weight. Baldoni's legal team hinted that this was only the beginning, fueling speculation that even more damaging revelations were waiting to drop. Rumors swirled of emergency meetings inside Lively's camp, with her team scrambling to contain the fallout. If these messages were authenticated, the blow wouldn't just weaken her case, it could also unravel the carefully crafted public image she had built as a grounded, relatable star. The media wasted no time. Headlines screamed of betrayal, while hashtags like #LivelyPanics and #HollywoodScandal surged across social platforms. Fans were split. Some accused her of putting image above integrity, prioritizing personal branding over the novel's heart. Others defended her vision, arguing that modernization was the only way to connect the story with today's audiences. Then came another spark: leaked set photos. They showed Lively draped in designer couture, a stark contrast to the book's raw portrayal of financial hardship. For loyal readers, the images were proof the adaptation was straying from its soul. Baldoni's supporters seized on the uproar, pointing to it as validation of his push for authenticity. Meanwhile, insiders described frantic late-night strategy sessions within Lively's team as they raced to get ahead of the narrative. But with each new rumor, each leaked text, each insider account, the spotlight grew harsher. What began as a disagreement over creative tone had snowballed into a full-fledged Hollywood scandal, one with the power to reshape reputations, careers, and even the future of the film itself. And as the frenzy mounted, one fact became undeniable: this battle was only escalating, and the next revelation could completely rewrite the story.
Just read it, because I was looking for movies that could be commercial and speak to the human experience. And
Were you reading romance novels?
And I had never read a romance novel.
Never?
And she said, just trust me, read it. So I read it, and by the end of the book, I couldn't even read the text on the page because I was crying so much. My wife was in bed next to me, and she's, I got snot coming out of my nose.
As the courtroom fight between Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni intensified, a surprising new wrinkle emerged: whispers of Ryan Reynolds' hidden role in the project. While never officially credited, Insiders claimed Reynolds' input was impossible to ignore. His trademark blend of wit and warmth was reportedly woven into countless rewrites, nudging the adaptation toward the lighter, modern tone that so closely reflected Lively's vision that revelation raised immediate questions. Was this truly the product of a production team, or had the couple's household become the real creative engine behind the film? For Baldoni, the idea of Reynolds shaping key decisions was infuriating. He allegedly believed the actor's influence was pulling the story away from the raw emotional weight that had made the novel a bestseller. Fans later echoed that concern, calling out what they saw as a glossy, Hollywoodized version of a story that had been loved precisely for its grit, but defenders of Lively and Reynolds offered another perspective. They argued his contributions weren't sabotage but support, an effort to expand the story's reach and give it a voice that would connect with audiences beyond the book's readership. Still, the rumors carried high stakes. If Reynolds had in fact shaped the very choices Lively later distanced herself from, her courtroom claims of being sidelined could unravel. Conversely, Baldoni's accusations risked appearing lopsided if decisions were influenced by multiple voices, not hers alone. Against this backdrop, Baldoni pressed forward with his staggering $400 million defamation claim. For him, the lawsuit was about far more than money. It was about salvaging reputation, asserting authenticity, and protecting creative integrity. He argued Lively's public statements had unfairly branded him as dishonest, damaging not only his standing in Hollywood but also the financial viability of the film itself. For Lively, the stakes were equally dire. If the court determined she exaggerated or misrepresented her role, her credibility could take a hit that no box office win could erase. Studios and brands thrive on trust, and any perception of dishonesty could jeopardize endorsements, future casting, and her carefully built public image. What kept tensions at a fever pitch was the looming threat of more leaks. Baldoni's team hinted that additional documents and records existed, some potentially more explosive than the evidence already in play. Reports of frantic late-night crisis meetings within Lively's camp only fueled speculation. Her attorneys were rumored to be preparing a counter-strategy, arguing that artistic collaborations are messy by nature, and that cherry-picked text stripped of context couldn't capture the fluid reality of creative decision-making. If successful, they could recast Lively not as deceptive, but as an artist navigating the chaos of filmmaking. Meanwhile, Baldoni's supporters rallied behind him, seeing him as a lone voice fighting to preserve the soul of Colleen Hoover's story. For them, the glossy set photos of Lively in couture released in the middle of the scandal were evidence of everything wrong: glamour overshadowing substance, image outranking truth. Social media amplified the divide. Hashtags like #LivelyPanics and #HollywoodScandal trended for days, cementing the feud as one of the most talked about controversies in recent memory. The ripple effects spread quickly. Investors grew uneasy. Producers privately questioned whether the film could ever recover from its shadow. Even if finished, would audiences see it as a heartfelt adaptation or as a cautionary tale of clashing egos and broken trust? In Hollywood, perception can matter as much as the work itself, and both sides knew the verdict in the court of public opinion might be just as important as the one delivered by a judge. Speculation over outcomes mounted. A decisive court win for Baldoni would allow him to reframe himself as the guardian of artistic purity, wronged by false accusations. For Lively, a victory could let her emerge as a survivor of a smear campaign, turning scandal into resilience. Settlement remained a possibility too, an escape hatch for both sides, but it carried risks. To some, a settlement could look like quiet admission of guilt. To others, it could seem like retreat from a fight neither wanted to finish in full view, and then there was the most troubling scenario: mutual damage. No matter who prevailed, the drawn-out spectacle might leave scars too deep to heal. With leaked evidence, breathless headlines, and non-stop social coverage, the film itself risked being permanently tainted. For many readers, it was already impossible to separate the adaptation from the chaos that consumed it. Even author Colleen Hoover faced backlash. Fans questioned her decision to back Lively, seeing it as a betrayal of the director who had championed her book long before it became a cultural phenomenon. Hoover's silence only deepened the divide, sparking rumors of regret or at least hesitation to add fuel to an already raging fire. The implications reached beyond the individuals at the center. Hollywood insiders warned this case could reshape how studios handle creative disputes. If reputations worth hundreds of millions could be dismantled by leaks and contradictions, future contracts might tighten, and PR teams might double down on controlling narratives before they spiral. At its heart, this wasn't just about clashing visions. It was about credibility, legacy, and the fragile balance of power in an industry that thrives on both illusion and authenticity. Blake Lively, once regarded as one of Hollywood's most untouchable figures, now faced a future where every casting, every endorsement, every press moment might be haunted by a single question: can she be trusted? For Justin Baldoni, the trial was just as defining. Would history remember him as the uncompromising defender of a story's soul, or as a filmmaker who inflated grievances to protect his own image? And with Ryan Reynolds' rumored involvement muddying the waters, the lines of accountability only blurred further. Was he a supportive husband helping stabilize a troubled production, or an unseen force whose input pulled the project further off course? As the world waits for the next revelation, one reality is already undeniable. This battle has outgrown the film itself. It has become a parable about how quickly ambition, ego, and star power can combust, leaving behind not just a fractured production, but an industry forced to reckon with the fallout. The verdict, when it comes, will matter. But in truth, the trial is already underway in the headlines, in trending hashtags, and in the conversations of fans who once only wanted to see a beloved story come to life. Redemption, ruin, or something in between, no one knows where this ends. What is certain is that this blockbuster feud has already rewritten the rules of the Hollywood game.